wild weekend of footy.
It was, and the upsets and the decline of some of the teams that were dominating early in the season continues. It's a bit hard to follow, David.
It's terrific. It's outstanding. He's not sure who's going to win on any given day, and the ladder, which Joe will go through in a sec, is an absolute squeeze. We love it. It's how footy should be, and unfortunately we've got a couple stuck down the bottom. But have a look at that, Joey.
It's fantastic. Not for us who are meant to pretend we know what we're talking about, because we've got no idea what is happening, but it is great fun. It's been awesome to watch. You take a look at the ladder there, and there's a bit of a theme coming out, isn't there, Hutto? I mean, the West Coast Eagles, the Sydney Swans are that far in front now at the moment, aren't they? And then there's a massive chasing peloton. It's almost like the Tour de France. The Sydney Swans are that rider that's gone hard early and gone off, and they're going to see whether they can hold on, because history is against them. Only the team that's been on top at round 10 have won only 2 of the last 10 premierships. I know it's a bit of a thing, but we know Collingwood, the struggles they had last season. They were on top for a long way, but got the wobbles and the staggers and just held on. And West Coast in 2018 were the only other team to be on top at round 10. So, I mean,
they have beaten all 5 top 8 teams.
Oh, they're clearly the number 1 team at the moment. It's whether they've gone too hard too early.
Well, how do you go
I know.
5-0 against top 8 teams is the reason they're there. And this is what we talk about, those separating games.
And you can't say that for any of the other teams, really, can you?
Well, the best result outside of that, I think, is 2 wins.
Yeah.
2 and 2s, there's some 2 and 3s and a draw thrown in there for a few of them. But it's a big gap, 5-0 to the rest of the comp.
Yeah, so the D's dropped from 4th to 7th, the Cats from 2nd to 3rd, the Giants from 5th down to 6th, and the Blues from 7th to out of the top 8 for now, as we go down to that bottom end where Carlton resides. So, Joey, 9th and 10th are equal with those teams contending. The Bulldogs in Brisbane, I reckon, are big winners out of the weekend, because it just means less ground they need to make up, and you could even make an argument lower than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Brisbane and the Bulldogs have latched onto that peloton, and they're now with that main group, and you can argue that Port Adelaide, the win today, I mean, that would have put them in 9th spot. If they had have lost, they win and they stay in the top 4. So that's about where it ends, and there's been a few disappointing teams, we know, from there on down, but West Coast as well, big winners today.
I'm looking forward to 360 during the year for the Snakes and Ladders.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
When teams plummet half a dozen spots, because that's what's going to happen. I just hope this holds for the whole year, because normally you've been saying the 8th set at round 8. Now we're at round 10, and we've still got no idea.
So just on those 4 teams, which we'll touch on individually, the Giants have lost 4 of the last 5, the Cats have lost the last 3, the Blues have lost 4 of the last 6, and now the D's 3 of the last 5, which leads us into your first crack, Joey.
Yeah, well, look, we just watched the game upstairs together, the West Coast Eagles, and my gosh, what they are doing as a football club is phenomenal. The noise of affirmation now at Optus Stadium, not for the umpires, but for their players and the resurrection of this football club, is enormous. I love the way they are going about it. Their box office, their must-watch TV, they're playing with this arrogance and swagger that is back. For a team that has been kicked from pillar to post, the way they played today and beat up on a tough, professional Melbourne side that is always competitive. I haven't seen Melbourne get bullied and beaten like that too often in the last 3 or 4 years. It was an awesome performance. I mean, we'll talk about Jake Waterman, but he looks like plug a locket down there. And I mean, Jeremy McGovern looks as fit as he's been for years. Ruben Jinby and a few of the other young players are coming on board. It's just must-watch TV. It's awesome. The crowd are loving it, and I think what they have done in the competition, and credit should go to Adam Simpson, Kingy. There was a lot of people calling for his head, saying he wasn't the right man to lead them through this period of time, but he's shown that he absolutely is. They're starting to play a brand of footy that he's stacking up a lot of the ground ball and the movement. And then there's one kid. I don't know if you've heard about him, Hutto.
They found one,
Yeah, they found one. They've got this new kid playing for them named Harley Reid.
Right.
And, I mean, we've spoken a lot about him, so I'm not sure what else I can add. But just sit back, if you haven't seen this game, and watch some of the highlights he put on today, because once again, he was unbelievable. And the rest of the group around him, we know we've said it, are walking taller because of a 9-gamer, 19-year-old. I mean, this is one of the goals of the year. The crowd were going off their head. The players all lifted. It's just, I mean, phenomenal. And we can just sit back and watch this. We watched the game together, Kingy. How good is it?
It's amazing. And look, some players, and we're going to talk about all of them tonight, play like winners. And they drag people who are just sort of fumbling and bumbling their way through games of football and say, come with me, play with the energy and the passion that I'm playing with. And who knows where it takes us. He's going on runs. He's got no idea where he's going, but he knows he'll be able to break a tackle or two and he'll make something happen. And the will to win it's impossible to measure, but we're going to talk about Zach Butters later, and we're going to talk about Petrarca again. Like last week, we talked about Petrarca, with Dacos and Scotty Penderbury and Chad Warner. This guy has it in spades.
So 21 disposals, 7 clearances, 2 goals, 10 score involvements, the most on the field. But what is also happening is they are making Optus Stadium a bit of a fortress again. So when you look there, round 2 was at home. That was disappointing against the Giants. But since then, round 5 was at home, that big win. Round 6 against Fremantle. Round 7 was round 8 was that close loss to Essendon by a kick, and then again against Melbourne today. Their next 3 games at home, round 12, they play St Kilda. They've got North Melbourne after that, and then Hawthorn. So they really should be going in confident they can win those 3 games at home. And who would have thought we'd be looking at 6, 7, 8 wins for the West Coast Eagles?
And Gold Coast and Brisbane play them later in the year at home, so they would have been thinking, oh, there's a win percentage boost, but don't be thinking.
And they're still going to be up and down. They're still going to have their issues, but
this has a greater effect on the full club, though. I mean, you'll be able to attract players to your club now on the back of what this one guy's doing. Come and play with him. Come and get on this ride that's going to go for a decade or more. It's such a marketable place now, and a lot of people come quickly for Adam Simpson. Really quickly and really severely. And I think a lot of credit's got to go to the back office. They could have walked him out multiple times. But they stuck fat and they backed the plan that they've all been united on. And these are the results. This is what good clubs do. Other clubs panic. Sack a coach, you're in turmoil and spun out of control for years. I think this is a lot of credit has to go to Don Pike and those around him. It's a very strong football club.
All right, well, the other player that's been extraordinary, as we mentioned, is Jake Waterman. And I can't think in recent times of a player in that position that has gone from being like an good average player, as you'd say. Obviously he had his illnesses and issues, just to become a player that is now equal leading the Coleman.
Phenomenal what he's doing. I mean, when you see some of these senior players now that are fit and healthy and playing their best football, I mean, they've made a massive difference. It's not just the kids, but you're right. Look, Waterman, it's continued. It's a sustained period of dominance. The amount of goals he's kicked in recent weeks, he looks strong. It doesn't matter if he's playing on someone bigger than him or smaller than him.
He can kick straight too.
He marks overhead, he wins it at ground level, and he's providing them a real target. You can see there now it's a four-way go for the Coleman.
I want you to call him Plugger when you're calling
Plugger Waterman.
If you can.
They were calling him G-Train. We heard in the post-game they call him the G-Train in the corridors, but we like Plugger Waterman.
All right, we can't forget the team that went down though, and that is the Demons. Names they've been over the weekend, over this Doug Nicholls round. So what does this loss say about the Demons?
Well, the game's about scoring from intercept. On turnover, being able to punish. Their 4th worst score for 10 years. 14 points they got on intercept. And I know they're trying a new ball movement model, and out of the back half they had 47 chances to start with the footy for 2 points on intercept. I mean, that's just not them. So I wonder how long you can continue down this path before you revert back to what you've always done, which has worked for them so successfully. OK, it's failed by a point, a goal, whatever, at the end of the season and ran slightly aground, but I feel like that is them. Only 35 inside 50s again today. They've only had 2 poorer returns than that in 6 years. So something has to change. I think there'll have to be a powwow at Melbourne. Can we continue to play this way with these opportunities ball in hand?
Oh, yeah, it's how long they continue to try with it is the question. I mean, that's clearly their worst loss, not just this year. I think in recent years they haven't had too many games where they just haven't looked in it. Again,
they don't look the same though, do they?
They don't. They do look different, and they are trying to evolve, and we understand that. So how long do you give them to see if this new system they're playing can work and sustain? I think they have to try it because they've gone to the well with their same method for a number of years and it's got them close.
I think we agree on that. But do you go for another month? Do you go to the bye?
Do you go all the way? Like, is it one or the other, or can you have a slight
It's not probably all of the other. For me, I reckon you can pull it back a little bit to what has worked for them. Not all the way. I think you've still got to evolve. Again, it shows when Max Gawn is slightly down, they look like a different team. He looked off today. It's always hard to know with Max when he plays not one of his best games. Is he injured or banged up or just had an off day? The midfield again got beaten, and that was without Elliot Yeo. They got beaten up around the midfield. So, yeah, they got some question marks, just like a lot of these contenders.
I was going to say, really,
a lot
other
of
than
these
Sydney and now maybe Collingwood, just every week we're just not really